Welcome to the Obscuram podcast. To learn, seek, reveal. This podcast is titled Logan's Gardens, Shifting Culture, One Plant at a Time. This is a very special podcast with Jimmy and Logan Williams of Logan's Gardens. This father and son business has been operating in Los Angeles for over 20 years, and I've known them for about 10 of those. They inspired me to begin my urban garden with their rare heirloom varieties and deep-rooted insight. But heirlooms are more than what you would expect, as Jimmy, Logan's father, explains.
Every one of these varieties has a story, a history, especially heirlooms. I mean, that's what they're about. The only definition of heirloom is a variety that's been grown by one family and seed saved for 50 years or more. Wow. Whether it's a rose or an apple or a peach or whatever. A lot of people think heirloom is a certain look, but it's not. They think, well, this heirloom tomato has nothing to do with the color or the stripes or anything else, right? Just the history of saving the seed.
And then what seeds has your family saved, or what have you developed?
Oh, we have our own tomato, the Goose Creek tomato, that was grown by our grandmother and great-grandmother in Charleston, South Carolina, the Gullah people. That was my father's side. That's the history. It goes back to slavery in Charleston, 400 or 500 years, and they all came from different regions of West Africa. And the reason why they came there is because they were rice farmers. People don't realize they were cultivating rice in West Africa for thousands of years, before China even had rice.
Wow.
See, everybody thinks rice comes from China, and it doesn't. It's all West Africa. Even they had all different kinds of rice, too, not just one. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them have since disappeared. During the Civil War, there was a whole lot of disruption, and a lot of varieties got lost. But some people, luckily, had seed saved up in their garages and lofts and stuff like that, because the number one rice was Carolina Gold, which is still famous. Okay. I think there's only 2 restaurants here in California who even have it, but they got to send away for it from Charleston. They still grow it.
Interesting.
And it's considered the mother of all long grain rices came from that rice. And it's an amazing difference in that rice and all the others. But there's been some other ones too that they're rediscovering all of a sudden. I think one was in Trinidad. They found this rice that's a rice that you can grow in soil. But strangely enough, the Department of Agriculture has it in quarantine and won't release it. But anyway, a lot of heirlooms disappeared because people didn't save seed. They didn't teach young people how to grow, right? And naturally, modern times, these kids don't want to do that. But now, all of a sudden, they're starting to get back to it.
Yeah.
You have teenagers being competitive about who grows the best tomatoes, stuff like that. So it's changing. I think they understand if they don't do this, it's going to disappear. And it's all about the food, and it's just theirs. It's going to be theirs and their kids. The air, the water, all that stuff we got to pay attention to. Otherwise, it's going to get all messed up. People don't care about it. The big problem is the Department of Agriculture charges farmers who are organic and want this certification. You have to pay an additional money to get this. The people that are using chemicals are the ones that are messing up the soil and the air and the water. They don't charge them anything. It's totally backwards. The ones that are doing it correctly should not pay anything extra. They should get subsidy. They need to fix that.
Absolutely.
So a lot of farmers now got to pay like a couple $1,000s for all this difference to be certified. And that's a lot of money annually. Right? And they got to come and inspect you and all, inspect your seed and all that stuff. But anyway, people that are using the chemicals should be charged. And they should be charged a lot. And maybe they'll change if they get charged. Until they get that fixed, it's crazy.
It is.
They're messing up the water table and the air. And the GMOs and all that stuff. I mean, it's crazy, right? A lot of these farmers that are not organic, growing this stuff next to somebody that is organic, and when it comes to things like corn, you're all messed up. It cross-pollinates so easy, so it messes up a bunch of stuff. Not unless you grow your own, open-pollinated.
What is the most misunderstood thing?
The most misunderstood is people think it's really difficult, and it's You just need the right information. You can do it. Mm-hmm. You may fail a little bit, but each time you do it, you're going to get better at it.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's it. People think it's hard.
I think it's really easy.
Well, some of them.
I always dreamed of doing it until they do it.
What is the best plant to start with?
Mint.
Mint?
Or lettuce. Yeah, those are easy.
Cool.
Arugula's easy. Regular lettuces are easy. All the salad stuff is pretty simple. Okay. But mint, too, is pretty easy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to kill mint.
Really?
Yeah, if you kill mint, you shouldn't be in a garden.
That's your test. Grab some mint, get started with that.
But lettuce is kind of everybody eats salad.
And that grows pretty fast, too.
Yeah.
So, also one thing that came up is no screens. Off computers, off tech.
Me? No. I have too much to do. You know what I mean? I don't want to sit behind a screen. And it's very addictive. It's important because of all the stuff you can find, how fast you can find. I understand that part of it. Important is, but I don't want to do it. He does it they all do it.
2, 3 other people do that for him.
And you mainly manage the Instagram, right, Logan?
No, I do everything.
He
Working
does
all day,
everything.
and then I go to the farmers markets.
Yeah.
Yeah, full time since I was 16.
So you navigate that by having everybody else do it, but...
Then we have 2 other people, Lorena and Lisa, who do work, invoicing, all that kind of stuff.
So how many people total do you have to operate this
6,
business?
I think.
6 people?
Depending on if we have a big project, then we bring in more people.
With landscaping and that sort of thing?
Yep.
How much do you charge per square foot, or is it per plant?
Oh, it's not. It's per project.
Per project, okay.
Yeah, it's based on labor and material.
Okay.
So every one is different.
So what's the average from...
There is no average.
No.
It could be $3,000 to $120,000. Matter of fact, one of the first jobs we had was about $130-something thousand. Stone work and stuff in Palos Verdes.
Okay.
It was huge. It was like a maze vegetable garden. You know, you ever seen those maze
Yes.
hedge gardens? Instead of using hedges, we did it in stone. So it took a year to finish. So it's one of those kind of things. But then you get, like we're working on a project now in Pacific Palisades where it's going to be one thing after the other. It's a huge, huge property. $7 million house. And he's doing all kinds of stuff. Because a lot of that property over there is sloped and hilly.
Yes.
So you have to make it accessible and easy to walk around it. So he's building all these custom pathways and stuff all around it, which all takes a lot of time and a lot of money. God, by the time that thing finishes, I don't know what it's going to cost. But then we do the little tiny ones too.
What sort of wisdom have you come across by gardening, by growing your own food?
Well, I think what really goes on under the ground, you know, and I heard it said that soil is the most complex thing on the planet Earth, which makes sense. All the beneficial bacteria and the microbes, it's just amazing. And most people don't put the time and money in the soil, and that's 80% of it. If your soil and your nutrients are good, the plants are going to have an easy time. It's not unlike us. If we have the right nutrients, right? If your child is getting the right food and diet, they're going to be healthier. It's the same with plants, exactly the same. So if you wanted to nourish you have to nourish the plant, and it all comes from the soil. All about earthworms and microbes and beneficial bacteria, beneficial fungi, all that is in soil. Right? So don't buy cheap soil, and always concentrate on the soil. Re-amend it, fertilize, organically, of course. That's really the amazing part. And earthworms, because if you're gardening and you're digging in your soil, if you don't see an earthworm, you know that's a problem. The reason why they're not there because there's nothing for them to eat. And they already know that the biggest concentration of beneficial bacteria and microbes is in the tunnel of an earthworm. And it's all about increasing the population of earthworms. And now you can buy earthworm cocoons and put them in your soil. But if your soil is healthy, they appear. And then you can do worm composting, which we do. We got 4 of them back there.
Oh,
we
wow.
sell the tea, we sell the worms.
Oh, cool.
Next, I spoke with Logan, and he discusses being counterculture as a native in Los Angeles, the life of growing a family business, and the deep-rooted spirituality that comes with it.
Did you get a lot of your friends interested in gardening through doing this?
No, I went to school in Hollywood and Beverly Hills all my life. I ain't going outside.
So that must have been such a juxtapose of growing up in that society.
It's kind of something we always did in my whole life. So he was super into health before that was even a thing.
Yeah.
So that was just something more or less second nature. That kind of started when I was 16, just as a once a week thing. So it was never my intention to be doing this or think I was going to be doing this. So that just kind of happened. Went from starting, oh, would you like to help me once a week, every Sunday, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, sure. Started that way because, you know, need money for Air Jordans. That's literally how it started.
That's how you got you roped into it.
Then you take 2 or 3 other jobs in your life and you get fired from 1 or 2 of those and you realize, oh, you can get fired. At a certain point, I'd say started taking it a lot more seriously around 22, 23 years old and then 34 now. So I've been doing it about 19 years. Yeah, I love it. It's been the most satisfying thing in my life. It's a lot of work and time, but most careers are. You know, it's a little random. You live in Hollywood, your own personal life gets strange just doing this because it's just time. For example, weekends, I haven't had a Saturday, Sunday since I was 16 that I don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. It's life. So you miss a lot of social things and dating things and things like this. That's really the only random living in LA thing. And people just have no clue what you mean when you mention it to them. If I mention anybody over 50, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Anybody under 35, they're like, you take care of babies? You have a nursery? I'm like, no. Plants. So yeah, I get that all the time. You're good with kids? I'm like, no, plants. But conversely, a lot of people I did go to high school with, really till now, will still come back and get plants from me. We're in Santa Monica twice a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, at the 3rd Street Promenade. So a lot of my friends who actually work in that part of town, they'll take lunch breaks around 12 or whatever, come over and see me on Wednesdays and stuff. Some of the stuff goes over my head. People like, you realize it's like a big deal. I'm like, really? In many magazines, many television interviews over the years, and it's kind of just a part of it to me.
It's funny how you don't even see it as being a big deal. It's part of what you do.
Yeah, basically. We even had a reality TV show company did a whole trailer for us and took it out to different networks. That was a whole thing a few years ago. His book did very well. People still talk about that. Matter of fact, every year around this time, people start getting that again. They come down to the market, get it signed and all this stuff. Beyond that, now you're taking it deep. Just little things like my grandma who passed away earlier this year, that collard green tree is from her backyard. So just like little things that add up to a lot of important things over time. So every part of it has a little part of your like heart and soul in it, but you know.
I'm sorry about your loss.
It's part of life. No.
I know, but it's still, it hits you more than you realize sometimes. And
It does. Do
you think having the heirloom plant definitely helps you to process that because you have that tangible piece they've left with you?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was alluding to. It definitely does because they're kind of always still there. So, yeah. So to me, they never left, really, in a weird way.
How long do the collard trees live?
For as long as you want to take care of it. You can cut them back to the ground, it'll go back. It's kind of a never-ending sort of a deal. There's really not too much that can kill them. Even over winter, they'll lose the leaves. They come back in the springtime. I'll get that question all the time. They're like, 5 years? I'm like, honestly, they can go like 25 years if you want them to.
Do most collards grow up in that way, or is it that specific variety?
Yeah, even the annual ones will get a lot taller, but only the tree does what that does over there. Yeah, the trees are a whole other ballgame.
Interesting.
They're incredible. We have some annual types, not here really, but those will get kind of like thigh high almost. So even they'll look like a small little tree, but they're not a collard green tree. There's 2 different categories basically.
Okay.
But the tree, as you can see, it can get upwards of 20 feet tall if you let it. And then occasionally we'll get people who didn't stake them up or something like that. If you don't stake them up, they will like grow sideways in a crazy way. So yeah, they're just a resilient little plant.
Yeah, are very dense with nutrients as well, from what I hear.
Yeah, that they are. They're second highest, most nutritious green on earth after dandelions. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know. People think dandelions are like some garbage in the ground or something. Most of the things that are super healthy grow like weeds. The collard green tree grows like a weed. You break it, you stick it in the ground, it grows back. There's one called purslane that pops out of the ground. That's like the 3rd healthiest thing on earth. Gets you thinking about things when you realize that stuff. So little things like that, you'll be like, well, who put these things or planned on these things being here? that nourish us so well. And that's what he's always talking about with like the spiritual part. Even this random thing that we just started growing last year is like the most popular plant for us now. This is called oyster leaf. It tastes exactly like oysters. It's an incredible little thing. We're the only people that sell that. Yes, a lot of restaurants are getting into that one right now.
Yeah.
If it's interesting, unique, flavorful, people might want it, then it's something I can grow long term as a business. See, even still, you have to think with a business mind at the same time. You can get and want to do every nice, wonderful, nutritious thing on earth. If nobody buys it, you're going to be homeless. So, okay, maybe I can't do every type of rare Jamaican amaranth I want, but I can do 2 or 3 perhaps. Maybe I can't do every single type of sage in the world, but I can do the 3 or 4 types that chefs and restaurants want. So you always have to think with things like that. Even on all of our strawberry varieties, we have some of the most rare strawberry varieties you'll ever find. Matter of fact, that's become a big focus for us, especially in the last 2 years, really. We never used to be into the strawberries like that. We used to have like 3 or 4 types. Now we probably have upwards of 10. This guy we just put out for sale this past Wednesday. Those are the Carolina pine berries. Yeah, there's really nothing like them. So things like that. It's almost like being a buyer for a clothing company. It's like, okay, I'll try that out and see how the people feel about it. So a lot of it is just trying stuff, which is kind of the nice part about having your own business. You can, on occasion, just be like, I want to try that. Whereas if you were working for somebody else, you couldn't do that. We were talking about mints earlier. That's probably my favorite part of the whole thing.
How many varieties do you have?
Oh gosh, upwards of 100 by the time the year is over. This guy we were written up in the LA Times about many years ago. This is known as Nepetella, also known as Mentuccia.
This is the type of mint as well?
It's like if mint and oregano had a baby, essentially. There's really nothing like that. Or another one we were written up in the LA Times about was the Bob Marley mint. It was a Jamaican spearmint that Bob would make tea from every day. It's got a really, it sounds funny, but it has a slightly smoky smell and flavor to it.
Nice.
That's called Berries and Cream. It's going to start out a little bit strawberry, and then it's going to end with like a hint of vanilla.
That's impressive. It's very smooth.
Oh, yeah. So there's some that are going to be more harsh, more minty. Some that are going to be a little bit less that. And then there's just really off-the-wall type thing. You're going to hate me. This is called fish mint.
Oh, gosh.
It smells and tastes like fish.
Are you serious?
There's no other way to explain that to people.
That is such a weird... It has like a lemony flavor, too.
It's very bizarre. These are actually rare perennial basils that nobody else grows. This is called Greek columnar basil. Unlike a standard Italian basil, it'll drop the leaves in the wintertime, but it comes back every springtime.
And it stays even when it flowers?
Oh, yeah. This herb is one of the best herbs. A lot of restaurants and chefs will get that from us. It's called salad bearnaise. Tastes like cucumbers. That's the best way I can describe it. This is one of the most healthy greens for you in a variety of ways. What is this called? It's an Osaka. There we go.
Osaka spinach.
The leaves, if you just break it raw or cooked, it's got a very nice texture and flavor. It's an incredible one. And it's beautiful.
It's got a nice crunch to it.
Yeah, it does.
It's
not
sweet.
a lot of people even know about this green. And people are always trying to figure out new salads, new things. And Vietnamese cilantro, which if you like cilantro, totally different. Also known as hot mint or roux ram is the other one.
In pho, you want to use this.
Yeah, that's an incredible one.
It's got a nice kick to it.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing really like that. This is known as hoja santa. You wrap any fish or meat or anything, any food with it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's got a strong sort of licoricey, anisey sort of a thing going on. So much like human beings, gardening, I like to tell people, is a microcosm for life.
It is.
They start out looking a little different, end up looking a little different in the end. Just like us, same difference.
What's the greatest thing you've learned in the business arena?
Going into business, especially if it's for yourself, you got to fight a little bit sometimes. That's just what it is. In the beginning, they didn't want to even let us in the farmers markets. So even things like that you have to fight with. My dad was filling an application for 5 years. For some magical, unknown reason, they were throwing them in the garbage for 5 years. So it's like, who knows? Like when we first tried to get into Santa Monica Farmers Market, they told us, oh, we have an opening in Compton. I don't know why they told us that. That's very interesting. It makes you think we wanted to go there. We applied to be in Santa Monica. I wonder. So you get a lot of little things like that that you kind of just have to like not even, can't even get mad about. Like it's
or even phased or put off by it.
Yeah, otherwise you'll be done. And that's what'll happen. And you think, oh, I'm going to do this good thing and it'll take care of itself. And blah, blah. Still, you got to get a little bit lucky here and there. You're going to need somebody's help here and there. That's just a part of it. Even in doing it just with us two, like if I didn't have him, he didn't have me, it'd be pretty difficult. And like I said before, it's a microcosm for life. You'll see plants struggle at first, maybe not figure it out in the beginning, then eventually they come through. That's example for life right there. That is, again, what he was talking about earlier, like the spiritual part of it is it kind of teaches you a lot of things really about yourself. So yeah, in a weird way, it's both my job, but in a very small, minute way, it's also like my therapy at the same time.
What is the greatest lesson that you've learned, spiritual-wise, from doing this?
I'll get people who walk up and the first thing they say, a very human thing that people do, they'll be like, I have a black thumb, I can't do this, I tried to grow this 3 years ago and it didn't work, I can't garden. And I'm like, well, it's just like dating. If your boyfriend 3 years ago didn't work out, you don't stop dating, right?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Some people do that and they get all, so it teaches you to keep trying, to stay open, keep positive energy, all that good stuff. Whereas if you don't, nothing happens. You've got to always stay positive. You got to try things again that maybe didn't work out. Try and figure out what you did wrong, learn from that as an experience, and build upon your previous knowledges. Not everything's going to be perfect in the beginning, especially, but just keep going, keep growing, really, is the best way to put it.
I then asked Logan about his dad's book, titled From Seed to Skillet.
The book is mostly how he came to do this, and really his sort of passed down knowledge coming from his grandmother, my great-grandmother, who I actually did get to meet when she was about 99. It's about that and just how to do it yourself. We get a lot of people who maybe can't afford the garden services and whatnot, but maybe they want to learn how to do certain things themselves. So in the book, there's a lot of how-to things and how to build the redwood and whatnot, certain ways that we particularly do things. We use only untreated natural redwood. And some people like to use cheaper woods or recycled woods. Like, that's cool. It'll work for a while, but this will last you 10 years. That might last you 3 years. It's more of a kind of just all get involved in gardening type of book. It includes what tools you'll need, what not to plant with this and that. So a lot of everything in that book, really. As well as there are a few family recipes there. Dad, what's your favorite holiday thing to make?
The old Hoppin' John, the classic, you've heard of peas and rice. Okay, that one. For holidays. And the burnt onion collard greens.
That's in there for sure.
From their presence at farmers markets to the vast, meticulously designed gardens of their many celebrity clients, what this small, family-operated business has accomplished is so unique that they are directly influencing culture here in Los Angeles. For links, a recipe, and more info, visit www.obscuram.com.